You know what's interesting is that one of the biggest cryptocurrency companies in the world is in danger of going bankrupt because just 2 weeks ago, they issued a statement claiming that their exposure to FTX had no bearing on their capacity to serve their clients. Now, this company is filing for bankruptcy, claiming bankruptcy due to lack of funding. Stay tuned for more. Welcome to Money Talk Sundays. This is your boy Stevie B. You already know the drill. Share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notifications if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Let's get into this. Genesis warns of a potential bankruptcy without funding. This is a big thing because it comes from Bloomberg. The parent business, Digital Currency Group, a titan in the field, and the silence from digital currency groups might be destroyed by Genesis, the largest Bitcoin OTC desk and a significant lender. Why is Genesis spooking the Bitcoin market overall, and how did we get here? 5 days have passed since Genesis Global Trading's lending unit stopped accepting withdrawals and new loan applications following its announcement last week that it would do so in light of the FTX collapsed state of play. As a result of the company's eerie silence, it is now possible to speculate about the general health of the company as well as that of its parent company, Digital Currency Group, and sister unit, Grayscale Investments. Why is this important? If Genesis had insolvency issues and filed for bankruptcy, the Digital Currency Group would be in danger. Genesis needs to raise money to cover their entire debt because the Digital Currency Group, or DCG, which was founded by Barry Silbert in 2015, is among the biggest cryptocurrency companies in the space with a valuation of $10 billion just last year. It holds investments in about 165 companies, ranging from well-known public companies like Coinbase Global to well-known private shops Ripple and Ledger. Now, people familiar with the situation confirmed to the block that Genesis is struggling to raise the emergency funds, but noting that its fundraising target has been reduced from $1 billion to just $500 million. Again, how we got here is unclear. The firm has been trying to raise at least $1 billion from Binance as well. And remember, we were talking about Binance is doing the bailout. Now, FTX filed for bankruptcy earlier this month. Genesis Global Investment, in the wake of FTX's collapse and the earlier 3 Arrow Capital implosions, which severely affected them at the time, the lending division of Genesis Trading temporarily suspended redemptions and new loan originations last week. However, parent company Digital Currency Group claimed business operations at DCG and its other wholly owned subsidiaries were unaffected, leaving Genesis facing bankruptcy without at least $500 million cash infusion Binance was offering. Now, the CEO of Binance, CZ, is currently tweeting about Grayscale and Coinbase custody. Bear in mind that Grayscale and Digital Currency Group share the same CEO, Barry Silbert, who is well connected and says this: therefore, Coinbase custody is holding 635,000 Bitcoins for Grayscale. Back for months, Coinbase, it seems to me like CZ is sowing doubt about whether Coinbase custody actually holds this Bitcoin for Grayscale and whether Grayscale actually has this Bitcoin. Why would CZ do this given that Coinbase is a publicly traded company and through their audited financials, they actually control 2 million Bitcoins? I assume the exchange reported holding less than 600 Bitcoin, just stating the news reports without making any claims. CZ, why are you tweeting at such a high volume? The CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, pressed him to act by warning that the business's financial information is available to the public because it is a publicly traded corporation. Beware of false information, and it's true that Coinbase is a public company, so they must disclose and prove in their financial statements to the regulating bodies. But cryptocurrency is all about trust and verify. Brian Armstrong shared pages out of their financials saying that we hold 2 million Bitcoin, almost $40 billion worth of Bitcoin as of September 30th. I'm rooting strongly for Digital Currency Group because I'm rooting for the hundreds of thousands of investors, people like you and me, who would suffer if Genesis, Grayscale, and Digital Currency Group don't carry out a successful restructuring. I'm rooting for Ethereum to avoid being subjected to massive liquidations. Brian Armstrong has shown us the wallet's proof of reserves. We are all currently in the same boat if the price of Ethereum drops below a particular level. Genesis reportedly needs emergency funding of $500 million to $1 billion or it would go bankrupt. The 3 Arrow Capital bankruptcies probably caused Genesis to lose more money than it ever made, but Digital Currency Group at the time paid off the $1.2 billion bankruptcy claim. Today, Digital Currency Group, the parent company of Genesis, has debt that exceeds its assets and has limited liquidity, but it also has Grayscale, which generates about $250 to $300 million in fees annually, and whose assets under management are locked. A holding company for digital currency should be able to raise capital if it can or if it can't. Organizations using digital currencies, Genesis Capital Liabilities. Genesis is the beginning and the end of health. There is possibility for optimism as well as dread. Either the digital currency group negotiates a settlement with Genesis creditors so that everyone escapes bankruptcy and the organization itself survives, or the creditors reject the proposal. Genesis declares bankruptcy after years of legal disputes, with the latter event likely having a similar negative impact on the group using digital money. Everyone currently believes that Genesis is filing for Chapter 11, which is awful because I don't think the digital currency group will be able to survive it in terms of reputation. It also appears that Genesis has days, not weeks, days, to come to a creditor arrangement in order to avoid filing Chapter 11. Now, we hope this pause. In summary, the $50 billion empire of digital currency group may be on the point of catastrophic collapse. I'll give a link to all of this in the description below. They have Grayscale and Genesis. The discount of the GBTC to net asset worth of the Grayscale indicates that they claimed to have 633,000 Bitcoin in backing, but would not provide any evidence. This digital currency group must start liquidating some of their 633 Bitcoin to restore the situation, as Bitcoin Trust has reached a record 55% discount and it is continuing to rise. However, they may not actually have the 633,000 Bitcoin they claim to have, and they have refused to disclose their reserves, so there may be a significant gap in backing reserves. Now, Coinbase claims they have started holding Grayscale assets on July 29, 2019, and 2019 Grayscale claimed to have 240,000 Bitcoin. There is a comparable transaction on July 29th. Remember that 318,000 Bitcoin is only one half of what Grayscale claims to have. Hopefully, the other half is being stored properly in digital currency group reserve addresses, which should eventually be made public. As a result, Coinbase published a report in which they listed all the assets that the digital currency group Grayscale is backed by, but without providing the actual addresses. In order to finance investment prospects, the loans were employed. Here is the complete letter from Barry Silver to shareholders. Make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out on anything. Stay tuned for the next episode of Money Talk Sundays. I'm your host, Stevie B. Happy trading.